one of the worst things about having an interview is when you finish and you don't get any feedback, you don't get a response, nothing, or you get the dreaded email saying, you interviewed well, but we've picked another candidate, or we're not picking at the moment. I mean, it's like, why? Now, if you've been going through a lot of these, like you've gone to a lot of interviews but no job offers, I really feel for you. And I feel for you because I have to tell you the bad news. Okay, the problem is most likely you. Now, before you go there, no, it's not you in a cultural context. Is it because I is black? No, it's not because you're black. All right. Is it because you're an immigrant? Unlikely. Is it because your breath smells? Possibly. Okay. That one is on the fence. But more than likely, the reason is that you are doing one of the red flags I will mention in this video. Because here's the thing: once an interviewer picks up one of these red flags, nothing else you do during the interview matters, right? So you could do everything else right, but this red flags, whoo, the deal breaker. Okay, so before we get into it, hi, my name is Emmanuel. I have to introduce myself because apparently I'm supposed to. Anyway, my name is Emmanuel. I'm a communications coach. I'm a digital marketer, and I'm a recruiter as well. So I recruit for digital marketing roles, and some interviews, you just want to jump in and help the candidate, but you can't because there's so many people to go through. So that is why I'm making these videos, to prepare you in advance so that at your next interview, when you're facing your potential dream role, you get it right. You don't mess it up, okay? So the first 4 red flags I'll be discussing came from the Harvard Business Review. They did a survey of recruiters and managers, and these are the top 4 things they said put them off candidates immediately. Number 1, dishonesty, right? I know it's normal to lie on your CV, but I strongly advise against it, all right? Because when you're applying to a company where you have a panel, and they begin to cross-examine you, your lie will buckle under cross-examination. Okay. Now they might just be cross-examining you simply because they want to know more about something you put in your resume. Or like, for example, you're able to drive up sales in your company by 30%. They're like, wow, how did you do that? So they ask you questions, but you begin to give vague responses. Immediately they know you're lying. Or someone says, oh, wow, would love to get in touch with your former boss to ask you for an evaluation. And then begin to say, I don't know, my former boss might not want to give the evaluation, something. And they're like, yeah, this guy is trying to hide something, or this girl is trying to hide something. Now, the second red flag is rude behavior. This is a tough one because there's no statistic for this, but I believe that 90% of the people that exhibit rude behavior or rude speech or rude mannerisms are not doing it intentionally. Okay, now I can say that confidently because being an introvert, for example, we introverts, we don't like having to deal with too many people at once. We don't like the spotlight being on us. We like to blend in the background. So you walk into the interview room and instead of greeting and shaking hands, you just sit down immediately. They see that as rude. You're at the interview, you're sitting down and you're not making eye contact. They see that as rude. So you're looking down, you're answering questions like this, or you're giving half answers in your responses. They see that as rude. Some people have what they call neurodivergence. So you might be autistic or you have ADHD or something or other that prevents you from making eye contact. If you have something like that, it is advisable to inform the company ahead of the interview and just let them know, please, during the interview, forgive me for this, but I struggle with making eye contact. So if I don't make eye contact, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just a condition I have. Now, the third thing they have a big issue with is lack of preparation. There's no reason for you to show up for an interview and ask the interviewer, oh, sir, what is this role again? They're like, okay, you clearly aren't prepared for this. You don't know the role or you don't know the company. That's just weird. I don't know how you show up to a building and you don't know the company you're interviewing for. I mean, I understand that, yes, okay, you're sending out loads of applications, but there's no excuse for that. when you get the interview offer, you go back to your application. So, okay, this company, all right, what did I apply for here? You go over your resume. If you make multiple versions of your resume for different jobs, which you should, please keep track, keep tabs. Okay, so you know the resume you submitted to this particular company. Now, this is a really big one. Criticizing your former employer. Like this, so you would think that you're just talking, you know, you're just being comfortable with the interview, you're being honest. No, in one of my previous videos, I explained this concept of being honest, but picking your honesty. Okay, it is never acceptable to talk smack about your former boss, no matter how poorly they treated you. So you might want to, in trying to emphasize how good this company looks, you're trying to give examples of how poorly you're treated in your previous employment. It doesn't work because all they see is you being a problem. Okay, so those are the 4 things that the Harvard Business Review found out that managers don't like: dishonesty, rude language, lack of preparation, and criticizing your former boss. Now I'm going to add 4 more things to that. Okay, so these are the red flags I warn about. Number 1, pride. When you come off as too good for the role, nobody wants that because you are unmanageable. So when you get in the office, you're just going to make everybody else feel bad. You're a terrible teammate, you're a terrible team player. Nobody wants to deal with that. Now that ties into number 2, lack of enthusiasm. When you apply for a role, so let's say for example you apply for different positions within the same company, but the interview you got wasn't for the job you wanted, and your demeanor is sulking, you're down during the interview, the interviewer just thinks, okay, this person doesn't actually care about this role, so there's no point of me hiring somebody that isn't enthusiastic. Now, we need to tweak that mindset. Just because it's not the role you want today doesn't mean you're not going to get the role you want tomorrow. All right? So you're still working with the company you want to work for. So be excited about the opportunity and see it as this: okay, if I get the job and I prove myself, then after some time, I will get the job I really want. Okay? So don't show up with an attitude, or don't show up looking down, or you're not really answering questions and all of that. So it's a bit weird. All right, the next thing I will warn you about strongly is grumbling. An HR friend of mine told me about this candidate she had that got to the interview and it was running late, and that was the first thing she mentioned when they called her into the room, that, oh yeah, you people made me wait for an hour. Was what she said true? Yes, it was. But should she have said that? No, she shouldn't have. Okay. Now, the final red flag is your dress code. I have a previous video on how to make a great first impression in an interview. Please check that out. It has more detail on this. But put it in a nutshell, you have to dress appropriately for every interview. When you wear things that are weird, you know, we had an interview where somebody came in with the sleeveless top, bathroom slippers, see-through top. No. Okay. All right. So these are 8 red flags in total to watch out for. Avoid these and your next interview will be much better.